Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart. My dear sisters and brothers, notice that Jesus says, not to his apostles or just to his disciples or merely his followers, he says to the crowd, to everyone, come to me, all you who labor and are burdened. The call, the invitation that Jesus extends to people is universal. It's inclusive. It doesn't distinguish between person and person, between people and people. It doesn't go by color or by creed or by class. It goes to the masses, to the crowds, to everyone. All are welcome. And there is only one qualifying aspect to that invitation. If you are burdened, if you are weary, if you are hurting, if you need comfort and consolation, you are welcome. And I ask myself, in what way do I extend that welcome that I receive from the Master, from the Lord, to the ones that I minister to, or to those to whom I am sent to? And it is here that I am amazed and surprised, and I feel grateful at the number of ministers that we have in our parish. Ushers and greeters, lectors and Eucharistic ministers, those that sing in the choir, or those who prepare for the Mass, the hospitality ministers, and in particular, those who care for the sick. They seem to extend that invitation in a very personal way to those who are sick. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I'll give you rest. What they experience, they express. What they taste from the Lord's hands, they pass on with their own feeble, weak hands. They bring comfort and consolation. They infuse hope into these people. I'd like to present to you a kind of a scenario, maybe hypothetical one. Let's say there is a patient who is sick, and you go there to give communion to that person. And the person needs communion and puts out the hand, and all of a sudden you ask, and when did you go to church? And the person says, well, I've not been to church in the recent past. What do? Do you withhold communion? And the person is there wanting to receive communion. Oh, that is where you need to exercise a little bit of caution for ourselves and say, what would Jesus do if he were here? Where would Jesus want to go? To whom does he want to be present to? Go through the Gospel according to St. Luke, or for that matter, Matthew, Mark, and John. You will find that Jesus goes to those who are hurting, those who are weary, the so-called sinners and Gentiles. And as he's present to them, what happens? A guy stands up and says, Lord, behold, I give half my property to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone, I'll restore it fourfold back. And so, by being present in a loving way, Jesus is able to work that miracle of conversion in that individual. And by the way, communion, as the word goes, communion, not just this communion, but communion is something that we welcome people with and not regulate people with. I'm not saying throw away the rules. We need canon law. We need the laws of the church. We need all the rubrics. And yet, all I'm trying to say is, it's not up to me to sit on the judgment throne. Judgment belongs to God. My job as a Christian, or in this case as a minister or as pastor, is to catch. And it is his job to clean. And it's a happy coincidence that this gospel comes as a good news for us at this time, when people will be thronging to churches. And are we going to regulate people, or are we going to welcome people? Communion, as the word goes, is about communion, fellowship, oneness of heart and mind. But again, I'm not just being oblivious of the fact that from the word Jesus said, my body given for you, my blood shed for you, or he would say, my body is real food, my blood is real drink, there was division. I'm not unmindful of that. But should we be part of that division, or should we be part of this communion? And so let's prepare ourselves to be worthy instruments. Did I say worthy instruments? Can I really be a worthy instrument in the hand of God? I wonder. I don't know about you. There may be some of us here who are immaculate conceptions. We are not known. But I cannot be worthy. I can only reduce my unworthiness and let the Lord use me as I am, making up for what I lack with His grace. And when I feel not so very certain, not good enough for God, I hear Him say, William, my grace is enough for you. And I think that's what we should be able to tell our sisters and brothers. His grace is enough for you. To conclude, Paul, writing to Timothy in the second letter, chapter 1, verse 12, he would say, Paul speaks of himself aloud to Timothy. I know the one that I have placed my trust in, and I'm sure that he, the just one, will take care of what has been entrusted to me. Paul says, the soul has been entrusted to me. Grace has been poured into my heart, and I have placed my trust in Jesus, and I know that He will take care of it. That's what I would say to a patient when I go to visit. I know the one you have placed your trust in, and I'm sure that He, the just one, will take care of you. Come, receive the Lord. And so, my sister and brother, as the Lord says to us, come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I'll give you rest. So may you and I tell those who are weary to come to the Lord to find rest. And by the way, He says His yoke is easy and His burden is light. And let's keep it that way and leave it at that, because Jesus knows what He is talking about. And so let's bring people to the Lord, knowing that our job is to catch, and it is His job and His job alone to clean. And in the meantime, the Lord says, come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I'll give you rest. I hope at this Christmas, as people come flocking to the church, you will make it a point to tell at least a handful of people, 5 different families, hey, you are welcome. We are glad you are here. Thank you for choosing our parish as your parish this Christmas. That would be bringing comfort and consolation to those who are burdened and weary. That is the way of the Lord. Will you make it yours from this day?